Good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host. And I have an internationally known, incredibly famous artist and bull rider. And this dude is awesome. Wait until you meet him. He's got some stories. I can't wait for him to share them. Be right back. Hey, good morning. Welcome back. I have Mr. Chris Navarro on with me today. Want to welcome Chris to the show. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, well, thanks for having me on, Ken.
Man, I'm excited to have you on. I've first off, I appreciate you sending me a couple of YouTube videos to learn a little bit more about you, and we're going to share one of those videos here in a little bit. But Chris, I started this show, 2.5 years ago, and it was to help people get unstuck. And, we all go through those trials in life where we get stuck, man. And I think hearing how others get unstuck, it's inspiring. So we have a lot of rock stars already on here sharing this out already. I appreciate that. Thank you. Chris appreciates that, I'm sure, as well. So Chris, why don't we talk about start with where you were born and raised?
Well, my dad was 30 years in the military, so he was Air Force, and I was actually born in Rome, New York, at the air base there.
Wow.
I lived there 6 months and never went back. So we got stationed at the next base. So I was stationed all over the United States because, in the military, it's hard to get roots because, you're transferred every 2 to 3 years. In fact, I graduated high school over in Europe at Torrejon Air Base. So we actually lived in Madrid, Spain for 3 years. My whole high school career was in, that's where I started rodeo. And I started rodeoing on the military rodeo circuit. Started rodeoing against mostly enlisted men, Marines and Navy, Seabees, and hung around with some tough guys right there at the beginning. I was one of the youngest guys out there because I started riding rodeo when I was 16 years old.
And you did this in Spain?
I started in Spain. I rode in the United States too. And that's my first passion was horses. So I always wanted to be a cowboy when I was a little boy. And I got my first horse when I was 12. He was given to me. Because we had some friends that got restationed and they had some horses and they gave me one of them because they knew how much I loved horses. And so I started showing and training horses when we were stationed at Wright Pat. And I joined 4-H. And then I really loved horses. So when we got transferred, I didn't want to go to Spain because I was just getting my horse training career going. And I was 15, 16 years old. And so we moved to Spain and they had a stables there. And then they had a rodeo club. And I saw some guys riding some bulls in Bronx one day, and I thought, man, it looks like fun. I think I ought to try that. And I got hooked on it. I mean, bull riding and bronc riding, you don't really do it for the money. You do it kind of like you get into it, and you get an adrenaline rush. It's pretty hard to beat anything else. So
yeah,
I kind of got addicted to the sport because, the bad thing about bull riding is you're going to get hurt doing it. And it's just like they say, it's not if you're going to get hurt, it's just when and how bad. And so I rode bulls, and then I went to college, rodeo at Casper College rodeo team, and I moved to Wyoming when I was 18 years old.
Wow.
I was like I rodeoed all summer in San Antonio, Texas, around Texas, and bull riding was really big in Texas. So I put everything I owned in a car. I bought an old Plymouth Satellite 66 for $250. And loaded everything I owned and drove up to Wyoming when I was 18 years old. Didn't know a person in the state. And I've been living here ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you went to college in Wyoming?
Yes, sir.
For bull riding?
Well, I rode bulls in college. They had a rodeo team, but, I think my major was animal science technology, basically. Learning about livestock and everything like that. I didn't even take art when I was in college. I wish I would have. I never thought about becoming a professional artist until I had that experience when I was 23 years old. I had an experience, and then I always liked art in high school. It was my favorite subject, but I didn't even know you could make a living as an artist. I was pretty naive when I got started.
Charles Coachman says it takes a special man to say that looks like fun.
well, yeah. So I got interested in the bull riding, and then that was I really wanted to be a professional bull rider, and I gave it a try for a while, and I just got tired of not having any money and being hurt all the time. So, bull riding kind of gets beat out of you. So my son became a professional bull rider. He rode bulls in the PBR. He made the top rung of bull riding. But same thing happened to him. I mean, he got hurt bad several times. I mean, the bulls are so ranked nowadays. And the PBRs at the top of the form. They have one over in your place once a year. They used to have a PBR event. I don't know if you ever watched professional bull riding on TV, but it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's something that I wouldn't sign up for. I'm just going to be honest.
It's a young man's game. It's definitely his game, and you got to be pretty lean. I mean, you don't see any big, heavy bull riders. I mean, it's a tough sport, and it's one of those sports that really isn't paid for the risk that the athletes take. Because if you look at the professional sports, bull riding is probably one of the lower tiered athletes that get paid, and you don't get paid unless you win. Yeah. Or you get sponsorships now. But, I always say bull riding takes you into some deep water. So that's one of the things that's the draw of it is just that you're doing something pretty dangerous, and it kicks it it takes your mind to a different level that you don't get in everyday life. So anyway, so like I said, that's what I started as my first passion was really rodeo. And then, I saw some sculptures one day by a famous Wyoming artist named Harry Jackson, and that's how I got into art.
So you, when you say you got hurt, I mean, it's 100% of the time you're going to be thrown off the bull eventually, right? Like,
yeah, 100. You got to get off the ground. I mean, you gotta.
They don't just stop and let you off.
You can land on your feet once in a while, but it ain't that often. It seems like so. But you don't have a pickup man or anything. So if you make an 8-second ride, you try to grab your wraps and jump off and make it to the fence or get away. They have the bullfighters. That's why they have bullfighters. Like if you buck off a horse isn't going to try to come hunt you up. He's just going to move on. But you buck off a bull, he's going to come look for you. And if he finds you, he's going to try to put a horn or a hoof on you. So.
Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah, that's how I got. Well, I decided I quit riding bulls because I just couldn't make any money at it. To be honest with you, if I could have made money at it, I'd still be doing it.
Wow.
But you get hurt doing it, and I've had a lot of injuries over my career, and I still get hurt once in a while roping. So anytime you're around horses or bulls that weigh 1,800 pounds, you eventually, if you put your cards in the deal enough, you're gonna get the joker once in a while. So. But I quit riding bulls when I was in my early 20s, and then I started working in the oil fields in Wyoming. It was booming at the time, and
wow.
I mean, I was making pretty good money, but I wasn't doing anything I had a real passion about. So I was out. I had a roommate at the time, and we went out hunting, and we stopped at Lost Cabin, Wyoming, and went to Harry Jackson, who was a famous sculptor. Didn't know nothing about bronze sculptures, but I saw this beautiful sculpture at his house. He wasn't even there. It was a bronze of 2 champs, and it's a famous sculpture, and it's of Steamboat.
Yeah.
And Steamboat's on. If you notice, Wyoming has a bucking horse on our license plates. That's Steamboat. It's a famous bucking horse from 1900s. And so I was looking at the sculpture. It was called 2 Champs, and it was the most beautiful thing I ever saw. And I wanted to own it. I said, I want to have that. It's this cowboy spurring this bucking horse. It's just beautiful. And I said, how much is that? And the guy goes, it's $35,000. I said, $35,000? Well, I can't afford that. Maybe I go make me one. So the next day I went in and I drove down to the art store at Godek's right here in Casper on 2nd Street. And I walked in there and I saw John Godek, and I said, hey, I don't know anything about this bronze business, but I'd like to. Can you sell me all the supplies I need? And he sold them to me. And I took them back to I was living in a trailer at the time, and finished my first sculpture. It was a bull rider. It was called Spinning and Winning. Also went to the library and checked every book I could out on sculpture. And, I'm a big believer in books, But,
yeah.
A lot of people think, are you a self-taught artist? I don't like using that term. I'm a self-educated artist. I mean, I learned from everything. there's a great quote by Ben Franklin. I don't know if you heard it. He goes, "You show me a self-taught man, I'll show you someone who had a fool for a teacher." Because, you learn from everybody, you learn from other things. Just looking at art, I can learn from somebody or, from a book. So I don't consider myself self-taught. I'm self-educated. So I started doing my first sculpture. I finished it, and it was a bull rider. And actually, I called it Spinning and Winning, and I entered it in an art show in Cody, Wyoming. And the guy at the foundry entered it for me. He said, "That's a pretty nice piece for your first sculpture. Why don't you enter it?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. It's my first piece." And I was entered in the amateur division. I won a blue ribbon and $15. And I thought, man, I'm on to something now. And I felt really good. A little bit of validation. So
I
kept sculpting and getting my career going better. And then in 1980, I met my wife, Lynn. We got married, and I was still working in the oil field. And then I like to celebrate March 13th, 1986. That's the day I quit my oil field job and steady paycheck and became a full-time artist. I hadn't really sold that much art till then. I just enough to pay my foundry bill. And I remember the day I quit that job, and I went home. I didn't tell anybody I was going to quit that job. I'd been there for almost 9 years. And
wow.
I just, what? And I had a little boy. He was 10 months old. JC was my son. And I didn't know at the time my wife was pregnant with our daughter, Natalie. And I don't know if I'd have quit right then if I'd have found that out. But anyway, so I quit the job. Like I said, I didn't tell anybody. I just quit. And I just said, if I do art part-time, that's all I would be, as a part-time artist. So that's what I wanted to become, a full-time artist. And then I just, every day I'd wake up and go work in my studio. It was in a little 2-bedroom home, and started making one sculpture after another, started getting better and better. That's how my career started.
Now were these sculptures that you were making, were they huge or were they little, desktop?
Yeah, my first few pieces were tabletop pieces,
Okay.
So, and I did all the rodeo events because, I knew bronc riding and bull riding, and, that was my first really medium that I really worked in was, making sculptures of the rodeo events. And I should have known better because rodeo cowboys don't have no money, and it was hard to sell those.
Right.
But, I branched out, started doing all kinds of different sculptures, But my first public monument was of the Lane Frost Monument. I did that in 1990. I started in 1992, dedicated in 1993. I don't know, a lot of people that know bull riding know who Lane Frost is. He was the world champion bull rider that was killed at Cheyenne Frontier Days in 1989. And they made a movie about him, and Luke Perry played him, and it was called 8 Seconds. And he's still a legend now. I mean, he's still talked about today. And that was the first public monument I did. It was a 15-foot tall bull rider.
15 foot. Wow.
Yeah.
Now I do want to get, because I know, is that the story where you had all kinds of challenges occur during so I do want to talk about that here in a minute. That's in the second video you sent me, I think. Yeah,
if you showed that video would explain a lot about what I'm talking about.
Well, I want to show the first video first, and then, because the second, I think the second video was quite a bit longer, if I'm correct.
It's 5 minutes, the second one. The first one is a little less than 3 minutes, I think.
Yeah, around 3. But I think that I do want to show that one, but I'd like to hear you kind of tell the story of how that all happened. But now I had my wife will remember her name. For the love of God, I cannot. There's a woman I had on here she's a barrel riding champion. Everybody knows who she is. She was on the show. My wife will drop her name, and I know you've heard of her. I'm just drawing a blank. It's crazy.
Charmaine James.
Who is it?
Charmaine James. Was it her?
No, she's blonde, real pretty girl.
Sherry Servey. I mean, there's a lot of champion.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but anyway, I'm drawing a blank. My wife talks to her, actually. Oh, Fallon Taylor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Fallon. She's pretty cool chick. But so my wife's a big time horse. I told you she is a huge horse lover.
Well, Fallon Taylor's the first one that started wearing a protective helmet barrel racing. So
yeah.
She's the very first one that started really kind of doing that. Now it's kind of caught on a little bit because, you know, you can get head injuries, you know, getting bucked off or whatever. Yeah. In fact, you know, that's another thing, you know, like all the bull riders, you know, all of them in the future will be wearing helmets because the PBR passed a helmet law. It's kind of like hockey.
Yeah.
So if you're grandfathered in, you don't have to wear one. But if you're born after 1996, you got to wear a helmet now. So, I mean, and helmets are a good thing. When my son started riding bulls, the first thing I did was buy him a helmet.
Oh, really?
I didn't wear a helmet. Nobody was wearing helmets when I rode. You know, we didn't have protective vests and mouthpieces or anything. We just kind of just wore a nice clean shirt every once in a while and get on, you know. I mean, and if I'd have worn a helmet, I wouldn't have got my front teeth knocked out. I know that. So helmets and concussions, they save a lot. So, yeah, I know who found her. She's a world champion, but she's the one who started the helmets. She
almost died, and she told that story, like how she literally almost died, and it was bad. Well, she said that they told her she was never going to walk again after her accident. So, yeah, my wife talks about, you know, she never rode horses without a helmet. When I met her, she had 2 horses. They're both passed on since then. But so you know, with so you started your career literally riding bulls and being in the rodeo, and then you moved into becoming an artist. And I love the fact that you said, I never even took art in college. I wish I had, but and you became a professional artist.
I went back later on and took some night classes, you know, when I started I learned photography, I learned drawing and painting, and, you know, I took some composition classes. You know, I went back at night school while I was still working in the oil field when I decided that that's what I wanted to do. But the whole time I was in college for, you know, going full-time student, I didn't take one art class, you know, and I'm just like, oh, well. I never thought that I could make a living as an artist back then. You know, it never really entered my mind until I saw that bronze sculpture, and it just lit a spark in me, you know. And,
wow. Why don't I play this video that you have? I'm going to play that, and if we have time, I'll play the other one, or we'll at least share the links so people can go back and watch that. But I'm going to play the first video now. But are you cool with that?
Sure.
All right, hang on. Let's do it.
The Art of Rodeo is a book and traveling museum art show featuring works of artist sculptor Chris Navarro, painter Brandon Bailey, and photographer Randy Wagner. The Art of Rodeo tells the many facets and stories of rodeo, using drawings, paintings, sculptures, and photography to express the excitement, danger, and passion of the sport. Using the legend and history of the Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo, this book tells the early days of rodeo to the present. I wrote this book because I wanted to pay tribute to my passions, rodeo and art. From the time I was born, I wanted to be a cowboy. I started riding broncs and bulls when I was 16 years old, and later started team roping. It became my passion. It is what made me happy. Both of my children competed in junior rodeo. My daughter Natalie barrel racing, and my son JC roped and rode steers. He later became a professional bull rider in the PBR. I believe rodeo is actually good training for becoming a professional artist, because in rodeo you need confidence and faith, the same 2 exact things you need as an artist. I created my first bronze sculpture in 1980. It was a bull rider entitled Spinning and Winning, and my first public monument was the 15-foot tall bull rider memorial to champion Lane Frost in 1993. Rodeo and making art was never about money, because I could not have picked 2 career choices that offered the least possibility of a steady paycheck. What it really was about was craving risk, challenge, hope, and excitement I got from art and rodeo. Some passions, they become part of who you are. They become your being, your identity, your sense of self, that thing that defies you, that thing that makes your heart sing. I did not have much money or anything else going for me when I started rodeo, no formal training. However, I did have a belief that what I lacked in talent and knowledge, I could make up with effort and determination. There are many things in our life we have little or no control of. The thing we do have control of is our time and energy. And we never really know what we can do until we try. Remember, every expert was a beginner at some point in their life. I believe success is accomplished through dedication, hard work, and a love for what we're doing. Because love, it's an emotion. We cannot be great at anything without loving it. So don't let the fears of the unknown keep you from following your dreams. Don't be afraid to embrace the struggle. Go out there, follow the dreams that gives your life joy and passion. Life's too short not to. All artists want to inspire others with their work. It is my hope that once you pick this book up, you'll not be able to put it down. The Art of Rodeo is a hardbound book at 272 pages and over 600 images. The price is $35 and $5 for shipping. If you want a signed copy, email chrisnavarrostudio@gmail.com or go to chrisnavarro.com.
That's awesome, man.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it's a new book I just finished. It's my 4th book. That's another thing I got into, writing books.
Yeah.
I started writing books about my art, and I mean, I didn't have any publisher coming to me and saying, "God, we got a great story. Let's do a book." So, I've always been kind of a self-starter when it comes to things. I don't want to wait around for someone to discover me and make my success happen. You got to go out there and make your own success. So I started writing books, and this is my newest book. It just came out in June. So
Wow.
it's probably the best book I've done. It's one of them books. It's got almost 600 images, and I probably went through 20,000 images. I took a lot of them. A lot of them Randy Wagner took, and these are some old school photos. And then I went to the Wyoming State Archive and got photos from over 100 years ago of guys riding bucking horses and bulls and things like that. It's an entertaining book. I tell you, once you pick it up, I don't want you to put it down until you're done. So,
yeah. My wife wants to know if you ever come to Quarter Horse.
I have when I was very young. I haven't been back there since. I think my sister still goes out there, but I haven't been there. I believe it was canceled this year.
Yeah, it is. It canceled. Well, I told you she used to run the Ohio State Fair, so
Sure.
she's friends with all them down there. But so and Charles asked a good question. Did you have any artists who inspired you, or who were inspirations?
Even before I started doing art, I love Charlie Russell's work. He's one of my favorite. He had a great sense of humor and just really talented paint, sculpt. He could kind of self-educated too. He was up from Great Falls, Montana, is where he's from. I've done that show a few times, the Charlie Russell show. Then you have another great is Frederick Remington. Frederick Remington died very young. He was like 48.
Wow.
But he left a great volume of work. You see all these bronzes that are Frederick Remingtons that are being recast now because, the copyright on his life went off. So an artist usually has a copyright of like 75 years on his work after his death. So that's why you see all these Frederick Remingtons being for sale everywhere because, they're great designs.
Yeah.
And then, being inspired by Harry Jackson. He's an artist that actually I saw his work. I got to meet Harry later on, but, that just seeing that one bronze, he wasn't even there, but that lit a spark in me. It was just so beautiful to me that I wanted to. It had a power in it that I wanted to have. So
what was that? Was there before that? Was there a moment prior to that where you were like, I want to be an artist someday, or was it just you saw that and you were like, I'm going to go?
My mind. I saw that sculpture. To be honest with you, I wanted to make a living doing something I had a passion about. And,
yeah.
My passion was I wanted to really be a professional bull rider if I could make it. And I was probably a better bull rider than I was a bronc rider. So that's why I kind of concentrated on the bulls more. And I don't know. I just wanted to wake up every day, be kind of my own boss and do something I wanted. I had a passion that got me out of bed and was excited to do it. When I found art, that's been doing it now for, I've been sculpting for 40 years now.
Wow, man. That's so awesome. And so when you did, and I apologize because I'm not a bull rider. I don't remember the really famous one that you did, the
Lane Frost.
Lane Frost, thank you. So when you did that, you faced some pretty serious setbacks and challenges I'd love for you to tell that story about how that went down, because you cover it quickly in the second video. But what are some of the details that happen? So you decide Lane Frost, who's the most famous bull rider, you said, like, in the world, right?
I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's kind of like, you know, he was only 25 when he died, and he died actually competing, and he rode his bull and got off great. And there's a great story about that. But, you know, he died in 1989 at the last performance at Cheyenne Frontier Days. In fact, he won second that day. And
wow.
The bull's name was Taking Care of Business. And he come around, and Lane fell into it was kind of a muddy arena, and he got off pretty good. The bull come around and saw him laying, you know, down, you know, he was on his knees in the ground, and the bull spun around and had great big horns on him, you know, baseball bat horns. And he run one of them through his ribs, and it punctured his aorta, and it killed him right there in the arena.
Oh my
God.
God.
You know, yeah. And so I was driving by Frontier Days, you know, it's at Cheyenne, Wyoming, and it's the biggest outdoor rodeo in the United States. I don't know if you've ever been to Frontier Days. It's 10 days long, and it's unbelievable. They open that buck and shoot, I don't know, 150 times a performance, because they got all kinds of events going through, and it's a special rodeo. They call it the Daddy, and there's a reason for it. In fact, it's been going for 100. This year would have been 124th, and was canceled because of COVID, because they have so many people show up. So it's the first time it's ever been canceled. I mean, it went through World War I, World War II, the Depression, Spanish flu, even. And now it's been canceled. So hopefully it'll be back next year.
Yeah.
So that's what the monument is. Well, anyways, I was driving by the arena, and I this idea, I said, you know what? If I could sculpt any monument, I want to do a monument, because I hadn't done a really super big piece then. And I thought, well, you know what I'd like to do is do a bull rider, and I do want a Lane Frost. So I called his parents, and they loved the idea. So I made a presentation to the Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo Committee, and I needed to raise, I think, about $150,000. This is in 1992, and I was going to raise the money by making small maquettes, 18 inches tall. And I thought, if everybody donates $1,000 to the Lane Frost Memorial, I'd give them a small 18-inch tall maquette it's called a maquette, the study piece for the monument. And so I thought, that's how I'll raise the money. Because, you know, you just go ask somebody, hey, you want to give me $1,000? I want to do this project, you know. But if you give them more than what you're asking, then you'll be successful.
Right.
So I went down there and gave a big presentation, and they turned me down. They called me up. They said, well, let's think about it. And they called me up, and they go, we're doing a great big add-on to this wing of the stand, so we're going to pass on your offer. And I said, well, how about if I raise all the money? And they said, well, if you raise the money, we'll take the sculpture. And I said, all right. I said, you guys build a pedestal. And they said, well, if you bring the monument, we'll build a pedestal for it. And I said, all right. So that's how I got started. So,
wow.
I mean, they told me no right off the first week I started the project. And then, so I started working on the monument. I started selling maquettes. And I tell you what, once people started finding out about the project, and that they were getting these beautiful little 18-inch tall bronzes, and in exchange for the $1,000, kind of sold itself. So I started selling enough of them, and I decided, well, I'm going to do the monument. So I started sculpting on it. Just when I started doing the monument, my dad, I talked to him, and he said he was going to come to the monument, and then he suffered a stroke about a week later, and he died from it. So I had to fly back, and we went and buried my dad, and I got pretty depressed about that. And then just as I started getting almost finished with the monument, it burns up in a fire at the foundry. You know, there was a clay heater warming the clay up, and I had everything done except for the base, and I was just sculpting the base. And I remember waking up at 3 a.m, and I was living in a little room at the foundry, because this piece was taller than my studio was at the time.
Yeah.
So I was sculpting it there. So I was working Monday through Friday, and then driving home on the weekends, because it was in Cody, Wyoming. So volunteer fire department, I called them at 9. I called 911. First time I ever called 911, because I wake up, it's hard to breathe, and my room's full of smoke. I'm on the second floor. So I jump out I call 911. I jump out the second floor, and I'm pulling my vehicle away, and I go around, and I see this big fireball right next to the sculpture. It's just burning it up, melting it. Because I made it out of an oil-based clay, and that oil-based clay burns like a tire, so it burned like a really thick black smoke. And,
yeah.
So, and I got pictures in the book. You know, I kind of show all the damage. It just completely destroyed the surface of the sculpture. And this was on March 6th, and I had the dedication in July. So I thought, wow, my back's against the wall here. So I ordered new tools and new clay and that very day, and started working 16-hour days, and I got it back and finished it. I mean, I finished it just a week before the dedication, and I drove it down there.
Wow.
So every time I started feeling good about this project, something come along and kind of kicked me in the gut. So, but I just had to get it done. So I just
did you
go ahead?
Did you you said that it started melting, the clay started melting. When you started back on it, did you use what you had already started with, or did you have to start over?
No, I had to redo the surface. The clay got melted. Most of the clay, it had a foam core in it, that we carved the foam. Yeah. So we used styrofoam underneath it. That was at the time. Now, things are different now. There's a lot of different ways to make monuments. In the old days, the only way to do it was to, carve a foam and then put like an inch or two of clay on it, because clay is very heavy. Anyways, that clay burnt up, because it caught on fire, because the clay, it's an oil-based clay. It doesn't harden like a water-based clay. Like terracotta is in water-based clay. I use oil-based clay. I use a clay called Classic. And it's a good clay and everything, but it'll catch on fire if you get it too hot. And that's what happened. I was warming the clay up with an electric heater. And the electric heater shorted out, caught the box on fire, and then the box caught everything else on fire. There was a big wooden table. I had some of Lane's stuff right with me. I had his world champion buckle and his shafts. Had his boots. His boots burned up in the fire. And all my reference material and most all my tools got burned up. It was
wow.
It wasn't, I don't know. It was a little bit devastating, but it wasn't, it wasn't a deal breaker. So I just said, I can get this done, and got it done.
That I think though that's what separates. I don't know how to say this except for this. That's what separates winners from losers. Because a lot of people would have said, this isn't meant to be. I'm not doing this. And you said, I'm doing it. That's not going to stop me.
Well, I mean, I don't think, if you quit, that's forever. So, I just think that, the ability not to quit at something is available to everybody. It might take you longer to do something, but if you keep going at it and keep trying, you'll find success at it, because sure, everybody gets knocked down in life.
Yeah.
Everybody has struggles, but if you take those and you turn those into, you embrace the struggle. I even wrote a book called that. So struggles, it made it more worthwhile to actually have that sculpture done when I finally dedicated it. And it meant a lot more to me. I mean, I think you appreciate the things that are harder to accomplish than the things that are easy.
Yeah.
If it's easy to accomplish, if something's very easy to do, there's not a lot of value in that. It's the things that are hard to do that you find more value in. That, and who doesn't want to reach down inside themselves and try something that they're not sure that they can do, but when they do it and accomplish it, it's just the best feeling in the world, And that's, I don't know how, it's hard to explain like that, but I like to, in fact, that's one of the things I talk about. There's a great book called Flow, and it talks about how you get your mind in a certain state where you don't think, you don't try, you just do it. And
right.
That's the way I try to approach things. I try not to overthink things too much. I did a sculpture of a T-Rex. Yeah, that's
is that it?
No, that's Steamboat. That's the one I did for the University of Wyoming. That's the bucking horse that's on our license plates.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm pulling up. You did that one though too. That's so beautiful, man. Wow.
Yeah, well, thanks. Yeah, that's at the University of Wyoming, the Wyoming Cowboys, and the sculpture is called Wyoming Cowboy. I did that in just a few years ago.
So I'm trying. I'm on Google Images, and I'm looking at some of your Is it on? It's on your website, I'll bet, isn't it?
Oh yeah. In fact, you want me? Let me share my screen. I can pull up some monuments and we can talk about the different.
Yeah, I'd
monuments.
love for you to do that.
I think when you visually see a lot of the work, it makes it a little bit different.
Yeah. So share your screen, and I'll pop it up here on the screen once you do.
All right. Am I sharing it now? Do you see it?
I don't see it yet. No.
Okay, share screen. This comes up. So you don't see it yet, huh?
You have to, a little pop-up will occur, and you pick your entire screen. There it is. Hang on. There it is.
All right. Well, here's some of the monuments I've done. We can go through a few of them.
Yeah.
I've done like 35 great big sculptures.
Wow.
This sculpture is the 10th Mountain Ski Soldiers I did of World War II. This one's in Aspen, Colorado.
Wow.
It's at the base of Little Nels, and I did that as a commissioned sculpture. This is I won a competition. This is called 20% Chance of Flurries. This one's at Colorado State University, and there's also a copy in Casper, Wyoming. So
wow.
It was a limited edition of 2. And it's a cowboy, and he's riding his horse through a snowbank with a calf across the saddle.
Was that real life size?
It's 1 1/4. It's larger than life.
Oh wow!
So like that horse is a 16-hand horse. So he's more like he's a 20-hand horse in that. So he's a big. It's a lot bigger than life. Like this is an elk. It's 9 feet tall. It's larger than life also.
Wow.
It's a big bull elk. This is out behind our place here in Wyoming.
Wow.
Elk are really beautiful. This is the Lane Frost Monument. This is me in the sculpture in 1993, right after the dedication.
Wow, man.
This one's 15 feet tall. Then this is a Columbian mammoth. This is a life-size Columbian mammoth I did for the Washakie Museum in Worland, Wyoming.
Jeez.
They've been extinct for a little over 10,000 years, and they roamed all through Wyoming. And they found one only. There's a cache of them. They found 7 Columbian mammoths killed by early man 14,000 years ago. And they found this is the first documented case where they actually found where early man was killing these large mammals with flints.
Wow.
Spears. So this is it. This is the finished one in front of the museum. That was me working on it. And then this is that T-Rex I did. So you can see how big. Yeah, it's 13.5 by 28 feet.
Wow.
Whole tail kind of like joking a little bit, but so this is half skeletal and half flesh. The lady that commissioned this job, it was for the Tate Museum, and she wanted light to come out of the sculpture. So I put an LED lighting system so this thing would have light coming out of it at night.
My gosh. And how tall is that?
13 feet. And it's 28 feet long.
Jiminy Christmas.
There's another picture of it.
And that's bronze?
Yes. And it's one side. If you look at it from one side, it looks completely fleshed out. And then you look at it from the other side, it's skeletal. And this is the memorial I did for Matthew Shepard. I don't know if you remember who he was. They started hate legislation about him. He was at University of Wyoming. He was a gay student and was murdered. And he was from Casper, Wyoming. So
jeez.
Wow. The sculpture came to me in a dream. I'd never done anything quite like this. So I was delivering the sculpture, and Matthew Shepard's mom had called my wife. And she said that she wanted to talk to me about a memorial for her son. And I was driving back, and I was coming back from delivering a monument in Houston, Texas, and I fell asleep at a motel. I finally just couldn't drive no more, and I kept thinking about this. And I had a sketch pad. I usually try to keep paper and pen by my bed, and because you never know when these ideas come to you.
Right.
Well, I woke up about 3:30 in the morning. And I sketched this sculpture, and I wrote a poem that went with it. Went back to sleep, and I woke up and I saw it, and I said, "Well, I'll have to do it," because I'd never done anything quite like this. It's a very unique piece, and it's got all these white doves. Yeah. This is 19 feet tall. So it's a big sculpture. I wish more of them would come to me like that, but that one did. So
wow.
This is a 15-foot tall bronze I did. This is where I went to college at Casper College Thunderbirds. So this is their mascot. This is called the Heyoka. This is an Indian native dancer. He dresses as an eagle. And so this is the piece.
Details are insane.
Well, that's a great thing about bronze. I've got him. If you can't see it, but he's all standing on 1 foot. So you got a 1,600-pound sculpture that's 15 feet tall. That's all held up by. That's one of the great things about bronze is how strong and durable it is.
Somebody wants to know, Joe Ingram asked, how much does that T-Rex weigh?
That T-Rex weighed 5,500 pounds.
Wow. Jeez.
And then this is the piece I did for the Greeley Stampede. This is a saddle bronc riding. And I kind of showed this horse hipping himself as he's coming out of the chutes, and this cowboy's marking him out. And it's called When Champions Meet. And this is at the Greeley Stampede.
That's incredible.
Then this is the one you showed earlier. This is another bucking horse I did. I like doing cowboys riding bucking horses, but I mean, that's not all I do, but it's sure a good subject matter for me to sculpt, and I really enjoy doing it.
Wow.
This is a Peregrine Falcon I did. That's at the
that's beautiful.
It's at the Air Force Academy.
That is absolutely beautiful.
And then this is the 10th Mountain. I mean, this is the Buffalo Soldiers. I did this as a monument in Cheyenne. I did this to honor the black cavalry soldiers of the 1800s.
Wow.
And this is a piece I did. This is an inspirational piece I did. I was in a competition for a monument for the boys' home in Moreland, and they had a climbing wall on the. And this is about young youths. You know, they're 12 to 18. They're kind of like it's in a lockup. It's kind of like these are young kids that are in kind of a youth prison. Jeez. And I was trying to show that you need to be self-reliant to get yourself out of this tough spot. And this is a piece that this was my concept for it. I didn't win this competition. I lost it. That's the thing about when you enter these monumental bronze competitions. You'll lose 10 before you win one. That's just the nature of it. But it was a nice design, so I went ahead and finished the sculpture. This is the other side of it. This is another one University of Wyoming commissioned me to do. This is at the entrance to all the football players go touch it before they go and play. This is Eagle Against the Sun. This is a commission for a person too. Lost someone they loved and they lost them flying. So I made this sculpture. It's called Eagle Against the Sun.
Beautiful.
And then this is me on my T-Rex. That's my art bio picture there.
Wow.
And this is family ties. I do some children pieces. This is another horse piece I did called Joy Alive.
Jiminy Christmas.
I like sculpting horses.
Dude, your work is amazing.
Well, thanks. I get to make a living doing something I love, and it's not hard to talk about it. That's when people say, "How are you going to talk about this for?" It's pretty easy. This is a piece I did for my son's and daughter's high school. It's called they're the Mustangs. It's in Sedona County. This is in the end zone. This big Mustang wearing out. Plus, it's also in my gallery in Sedona. So I have an art gallery actually owned in Sedona, Arizona, and I have an outdoor sculpture garden. I have probably 9 or 10 big pieces. So if you're ever in Sedona, stop by Navarro Gallery. This is another life-size piece that I did. There's some more of that. These are a couple of life-size grizzly bears I did. This guy commissioned me to do this. He wanted some bears guarding his house, but they fallen asleep on the job. So I did some water. This is a piece I did that was commissioned by Cal State in San Bernardino. So I worked for sometimes, schools and colleges will call me and do that. Well, there's some of the work that I've done.
Jeez. Unbelievable, man. Absolutely unbelievable.
Well, if you look, I mean, I've done, I've done 300 and some sculptures probably over my career.
Wow.
I'm doing a lot of
wow.
So I've been lucky to make a living doing something I love.
Thank you for sharing that. Really.
Yeah, it gives everybody more of an idea about kind of what I've been doing.
Yeah.
I'm working on a monument right now for Winnemucca. So I try to do one big monument a year, and this is my 34th year. So I try to have at least one of those. It takes a long time to do a big monument, though. A lot of hours.
Wow. Look at this. Somebody said, I visited the gallery in Sedona. As a fellow artist, I'm deeply moved by Chris's incredible talent. Wow, wow, wow. Wow.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've had that gallery for 20 years. I appreciate people coming by. That's one of the great things that's one of the reasons why I opened my own gallery. I have so much work. Usually when I was in about 10 galleries at one time. I'm in 4 now, but usually when you're with another gallery, you put maybe 6, 7 pieces in because they have all these other artists after. So
now, what does that mean? Is that like that means that you're putting your pieces in there to sell?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm trying to sell.
Got you.
I put them on consignment. That's why it's, an artist, you never know how much money you're going to make from month to month. So when I put my work in on consignment, I'm not paid by the gallery until the artwork actually sells. But I have to pay to have to produce it, create it, get it to the gallery. And I mean, America is right in a renaissance time now because of the internet. I believe, there's more artists making a living as professional artists because when I started, the only way to really get known was through art galleries, art shows, and art magazines, and it was expensive to get through all that. But now with the internet, it's changed everything.
Yeah.
You can share your work with everybody. And that's why I think there's more professional artists making a living in the United States right now than at any time in its history.
Yeah. And you have a gallery in Wyoming as well?
Yeah, I show in 3 galleries in Wyoming.
Yeah.
There's one in Cody, one in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and one in Cheyenne, Wyoming. So those galleries all show my work.
Wow.
In fact, I don't know if you've ever been to Jackson. Jackson's about as pretty a place as you're going to see.
I remember when I drove through Wyoming on my way to Seattle, and all I remember is going up some giant mountain. And by the time I got to the top of this mountain, I mean, it was literally like you could look down and see a town as you're coming down the mountain. You could see the lights of a town or a city, I guess. And I don't know what it was, but like you could see it from as you're coming down. It was.
You just described about a half a dozen towns in Wyoming.
Yeah. Well, it was on an interstate. I know that, but yeah. It's such a beautiful state. It's so beautiful.
I moved here, like I said, in 1974 when I was 18 years old, and I've lived here ever since. Wyoming's a very unique place. There's not many people here. We're the least populated state in the United States. There's only 550,000 in the whole state.
Joe,
probably some of the prettiest country you've ever seen. I mean, it's a very unique place. Lots of wildlife.
Joe wants to know if you can make a bronze statue of me so he can put it in his backyard.
Ken, we'll have to put a bid together for you, I guess.
Oh, that's so funny. So, you've been through it, man. I mean, just the bull riding part of it. And I know there's a lot of bull riders and retired bull riders. But I mean,
retired bull rider at some time.
Yeah. But I mean, that's pretty incredible because most people would never want to. That's a pretty dangerous sport. I mean, there's not many that are more dangerous that I can think of. So you've done that. Then you decided to become an artist, and by reading books and learning on your own, and then going to school along that way. You've had some serious setbacks making, well, at least the one. What do you think keeps most people from succeeding in life? Like, you've pushed through it and you've become very well known in what you're doing. I mean, what do you think holds most people back?
I believe their mindset. I believe, that's probably the biggest thing. I believe, your mind is probably the strongest thing you can have. And if you're mentally, and that's why I tell people, like, bull riding was really good training for being a professional artist. And a lot of them don't understand that, because the same two things you need to be a good bull rider, you need to be an artist or anything else. You need to have confidence. And you need to have faith. And I believe, if I see something, I feel like I can, like I learned how to fly an airplane. I got my license, learned scuba dive. I mean, all these things that, I try to live my life with as little fear as possible.
Yeah.
And that's a strong thing. And I believe, like, even now when I work in my studio, I listen to books constantly, all nonfiction books. And I listen to probably, 80 to 100 books a year. And I just find these great stories, and they inspire me, and it makes the day go by where you get a really good book where you just want to keep reading it. And I think that you program your mind that way. I think, if you're around negative people and that's all you hear is negative things, you're going to be negative. But if you're around positive people and positive things keep going into your mind, you're going to have a positive attitude on life. It's easy to be negative. You can roll out of bed and be negative right from the start. It's hard to be positive all the time. And, when things don't go your way, which happens all the time, and an artist, you got to deal with a lot of rejection.
Yeah.
I mean, more so than you'd think. Because people, you put so much time and effort into your work, it's hard not to take rejection personally, because you got so much of yourself tied up into it. But, I can't worry about what's going on in other people's minds. I got to worry about what's going on in my own mind. And so I try to make sure that I have a belief that I can do something and make it happen. And I write my goals and dreams down all the time. I just finished a piece that I've been putting in front of the Boys and Girls Home clubs. There's 2 of them in Wyoming. It's called Dare to Dream Big, and it's a cat, and he's looking in a mirror, and he sees this lion looking back at him.
Yeah.
And it's on 2 books that say the power of belief. And I believe that that's true. I mean, if you think you're a lion, you can be a lion in your mind. And then that gives you that strength to push through anything that's in your way or tough. Like, I always tell myself, I don't have any choice in the matter. I'm going to be tough, and I'm going to be brave, and I'm going to get through this. And that's gotten me through so much in my life. Even when I get hurt, I got hurt really bad in a bad horse wreck. In 2014, I got into this matched horse race. I was on a ranch on some dude ran. I was supposed to do a sculpting demonstration. And next thing I know, I'm out roping with the working cowboys, and this guy challenges me to a matched horse race. I say, sure. So I get into this matched horse race. I win the race, but this other guy that was taking pictures of the race, he let go of his horse, and my horse T-boned him going about 40, and the horse flipped over and rolled over the top of me, and I had to get life flighted. I broke 9 bones that day, and collapsed around. And I'm thinking in there, like, and they were putting me in that life flight helicopter. I'm thinking, like, man, I got that dedication for that Wyoming Cowboy. The one I did for the University of Wyoming was 4 weeks away. And I was thinking, like, man, how am I going to get through this? It would have been for my wife coming down and getting me and hauling me home. I was in the hospital for 3 days. And I broke myself up. I had to get a bunch of screws and plates in. But you know what? I started just, like, every day, you're going to get a little better. You're going to get it healed up, And now, I was pretty stiff and sore for the longest time. But I start every day off with about 25 minutes of yoga every morning, and then it loosens me up. It's been a big saver for me. I've been doing yoga for about eight years now, because I started getting older and I've broken a lot of bones in my life, all from rodeo and horses and stuff. So,
wow.
Still feel pretty young. I'm 64 now. I'm not as young as I'd like to be, but sometimes in my mind I'm 30.
Man, you don't look 64 at all.
Well, Ken, I got more bad parts on me than a 56 Edsel, so broken like 17 bones, I think. Dislocated bone show.
Wow.
13 pins and screws in me. And I don't know. I just, if you keep thinking you're young, you can stay young. And you got to, if you wake up every day and you got a passion. You know who the famous artist is? And one of my favorite is Michelangelo. Now, Michelangelo, he died in like 1456. I don't know. He lived to be 89 years old, and the average life expectancy for an Italian man back then was 43. And he lived to be 89 years old. And you know why he lived so long? Every day he woke up with a passion and a purpose. And I think that's a philosophy that I want to buy into, because I think that'll keep you young. And he's probably the greatest artist that's ever lived, in my opinion. I don't think of anybody that was more talented or was able to accomplish more than that man did. And like I said, he lived to be 89, and when the average person only lived to be 43. Why is that? There's got to be a reason. And he just had a passion. He worked till the day he died. He was out there trying to make art the whole time, because you find a purpose that's bigger than yourself, and you just follow it. He didn't quit. Wow.
Dude, that's incredible. Find a purpose that's bigger than yourself.
Yeah, I'm fortunate. I'm making all these big bronzes. And I maybe got another 20 years in me, and I'll probably be going down the road. And all these monuments are gonna be around for hundreds and hundreds of years after I'm gone, and that makes me feel pretty good. Makes me feel like I've done something with my life that meant something.
I was going to bring this up, and I thought, no, I'm not going to. And then somebody in the audience just brought it up. And so I'm going to throw it up on screen and see what you think.
Yeah. All this thing that's going on right now, it's hard to fathom why they're doing what they're doing. I mean, I don't want to see, hopefully none of my work gets vandalized and destroyed, but that's a possibility. I try not to worry about things I have no control over. And I really don't have much control over COVID. I don't have much control over rioters. The only thing I try not to be that complicated. I try to keep things on a simplistic basis. I like to wake up. I live out in the country, so I'm by myself a lot. When you're an artist, you're alone a lot.
Yeah.
So I go to my studio and I work on my big sculpture I'm working on now, and I listen to a good book, and I work till I'm tired, and I come in and go to sleep and wake up and do it all over again. And I try not to buy into this negativity that's going around us right now. It's hard not to.
Yeah.
Everybody's wearing a mask, and I think, like I said, I try not to worry about things I don't have a lot of control over. And the only thing I can control is my effort and my mindset. And so my mindset is I'm going to be positive. I know we're going to get through this. We get through everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing this full time for 34 years. And I remember when I first started in 86, we had the oil crisis where the stock fell out of oil. And they said that all these art sales are going to stop. You couldn't have picked a worse time to be a professional artist. I had another sculptor tell me this. And I said, well, I don't know. I can't control that. But I got through that. Then we had 9/11. The art market took a big downturn then. And then we had the crash of 08. And everybody said, oh, we got through that. And we're going to get through this too. It's just going to take time. And I'm not, like I said, everybody gets knocked down. You just keep getting up, and you do what's the best in front of you, and you use some common sense. I hate to watch the news anymore because there's just so much uncommon sense out there. It's just
I haven't watched the news in 12 years. I refuse, man. It's they make their living by delivering negative information. That's
true. You know what they say, Ken? If you don't read the paper, you're uninformed, and if you do read the paper, you're misinformed. So
right.
I know it's just there's so much negativity out there right now. I don't understand why we're living I've lived all over the world. When my dad was in the Air Force, we were stationed in Europe, and I've been to Asia, I've been to South America. I don't know of any place better to live than the United States. There's not. But we're watching it slowly get kind of destroyed in front of our eyes, and I just don't understand it. There's so much possibility out there. There's so much. We have so many resources. People that haven't traveled around. You go to Thailand or you go to Colombia, and you see some of the people living in such hard physical and being so poor. You don't see any of that in the United States.
No.
Not like on that level, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that, you can become anything you want to be if you want to be bad enough. Look at me. I have no art training, and I became a well-known, and I've made a great living as an artist because I live in this country. I don't know if I could do this in any other country. I don't know.
It's amazing. I think what, and I love what my wife said. You don't often see cowboys doing yoga. She said, good for you. That's awesome, man. I love it. I absolutely love it. And Charles Coachman says, I'm Native American and I love your work. I know some feel cowboys are part of our racist past. Damn, it's our history. It's history, man. That's like
it is, and the thing of it is, I had a DNA. My wife bought me a DNA test, and my last name's Navarro. My dad was Mexican, and my mom was Anglo, so I'm about half Mexican. And the DNA test said I was 17% Native American, 23% Spanish, 12% Scottish, 8% English. I'm a mutt, just like most Americans. We're all a mixture of everything.
Yep, that's right.
So I can't control where I came from or my past. I can just control what's in front of me and my future. So, and I think if people had that mindset, this country would be so much better off than it is right now. I mean, people are trying to punish for the past, things that happened hundreds of years ago. This country's not the same as it was hundreds of years ago.
No.
But people want to tear down these monuments, and it's part of our history. I'm really against them destroying any kind of public monuments. So I don't know.
I agree with you 1,000%, man. I think, again, the best way to repeat the past is to destroy the memories of it. And we're going to, anyway, we could get into a big political discussion. We probably shouldn't, but I think, man, first off, I'm very, very grateful that you invested the time with me today and shared your story with the audience. And I want to make sure that I put your website address up here. So let me do that real quick. And Chris, Navarro, right? .com.
Yeah. Chris Navarro.
Yeah. Oh, I did that wrong. Hang on a minute. I want to scroll that across the bottom. So there we go. ChrisNavarro.com. Where are you? Are you active on social media?
Oh yeah, I'm on Facebook. I got an Instagram. I mean, I've Pinterest. I'm trying to do it all because right now I've been trying to market. That's why I have so many videos. I made about. I mean, there's an art form of writing books. There's art forms of making videos. There's an art form of making sculptures, paintings, drawings. It's all challenging. And, you got to wear a lot of different hats. I learned photography when I was first starting because I used to have to hire a guy to shoot my photographs of my sculptures. And it was like, I had to drive 250 miles each way and pay the guy, a couple $100. I started watching him. I was thinking like, this isn't rocket science. So I went out. This was back when you had to shoot 4x5 negatives, and I went and bought me a big 4x5 graphic view and took some photography classes at the college, got to learn to do the darkroom, and I started learning photography because, I think everybody needs to remember every expert, no matter what field there is, was a beginner at some time.
That's right.
So I think that I was a beginner in sculpture. I was a beginner in photography. I was a beginner in rodeo. And every time I keep working at it and studying at it and doing it, you get better as you go along. You don't get worse. And, you just that, like I said, like even like I love competing now. I still compete in team rope, and then I try to keep it simple. I just focus on my target and take my first good shot. I mean, that's pretty much my simple way of looking at it. And it's been pretty successful for me,
So even after the horse rolled over you and you broke 9 bones and had to be life flighted, you still get up on the horse and go.
I got on that same horse like it was 3 months later, 3.5. I couldn't get.
Did the horse break any bones?
He had a little bit of a vet bill, but not as bad. The horse he hit broke a bunch of ribs. I mean,
jeez.
I think it was a big horse. He was probably 16 hands, weighed 1,300 pounds, and I think he didn't get hurt as bad because I broke his fall.
That's funny. That's funny.
I hit the ground so hard my grandkids felt it. So it's just part of life. You know?
Wow, man. Wow. Man, Chris, you're awesome, dude. I really appreciate you taking the time.
My pleasure.
Go ahead and wrap it up. And everybody go to chrisnavarro.com. I would imagine all of your social media links are on your website. But yeah, go over there and follow this guy. And you got to get on the horse, you fall off. Or you got to get on the horse of, I think there's a typo in there. Rule number 1. Look, everybody go follow Chris on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. Chris.
I wanted to plug my new book too while I'm here. So it's The Art of Rodeo. It just came out.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even realize you had one more in there.
And it's 272 pages. It's got 600 images in it. And I promise you won't be bored. Some of the things we talked about are in there, but it's just,
wow.
It's just the whole sport of rodeo, mostly about Cheyenne Frontier Days, how it started in 1897. And, it talks about all the early athletes and about how some of them lost their lives doing it.
And is that that's on your website. Is that on Amazon also?
I haven't put it on Amazon yet. I have a couple other books on Amazon. I'm going to go over there and do that. I'm just trying to sell a few through my website. I'm self-published, so
yeah.
It's like being self-published. I bet you just, you do the best you can with the book you do, and every book you do. This is my 4th book, so I've gotten better at it. And hopefully, I have a few more books and a few more monuments in me. But I'm starting to get a little long in the tooth. But I plan on doing this until they throw dirt on top of me. So I'm just going to keep doing what I do every day, and hopefully, I'll make it as long as Michelangelo. 89 would be a nice goal.
That's a great goal to have, man. Or 109 even.
I don't know, man. I'm not trying to be greedy here.
I mean, they may have to put a few extra screws in you, but
I don't know when I'm going to open. I mean, everybody quits at some time. I mean, I get too old to jump on a horse. I'll probably have to quit, but I don't see that happening anytime soon.
How many horses you have out there?
I got 2 right now. I got 2 head horses. I got Hank and Lady Bay. I got a bay mare I bought. She's 10. Hank's 20. He's getting up there. But no, they're some of my best friends. I like being with my horses. If horses like a person, if they go to the fence and horses come over and see them. Yeah. If they don't like them, they go to the other end of the pasture. So my horses always come over and see me, and I like them, and kind of like I spend more time with them than a lot of people. And they don't argue with me too much.
Samuel says he has 3 horses. He says you must let them know you're the boss, or they will lead you in the wrong direction.
That's true. Horses can sense. Like when you put a really non-experienced rider on them, they sense it. They know it. If a horse can feel a fly on his back, he can feel something like that. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, horses, you got to kind of, it's just like with training dogs, right? You got to be the alpha and kind of like let them know that they're taking orders from you. I mean, if you want to have a good relationship with them, you get them to do. I mean, that's why I like roping. I mean, you're going from 0 to 35 miles an hour and trying to catch a steer as fast as you can. It's pretty fun. You get focused for that short time. So that's why I call it being in flow. I don't understand why I like doing it so much. I just do it. That's the secret to being happy. You just find the things you like to do and just keep doing them.
That's awesome, dude. I love that. Man, thank you. I appreciate it. Stay with me. I'm going to end the live stream, but thank you to everyone who shared this out, who's been here with us. Chris, thank you for coming on. I appreciate your time, and your story is absolutely incredible.
Hey, well, thank you. It's a pleasure to share it with you.
Everybody go over to chrisnavarro.com and pick up a copy of his book. You're going to sign it.
You know it.
That's awesome. I'm getting a copy of it today. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to everybody for being here. We'll see you all tomorrow. Chris, hang with me here for a second.
Okay.